What's up, squad? All right, YouTube family, my spiritual family, Retain Gang. What's up? All right, I'm gonna take a seat for this one. So as you guys can see in the background here, we've got some very interesting weather today, if we can even call it that. And I know that most of you guys, considering the type of audience I think I have here, you guys are well aware of what I'm talking about, and I can't talk about it in specifics if I want to keep my channel here going. I've learned that over the years. I've had other channels completely just deleted without explanation, simply for pointing out what to me is the obvious. It's the elephant in the room. It's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And I think on a level, there's certain people that are just so spiritually dead and so asleep that they can't even see. They just can't see what we see, you know. But I think for the most part, people know this is happening. I think even people that like on the surface might deny it or try to ignore it, I think on some deep level they know what's happening too. It's just that it's scary to them. And I think that those of us that are willing to witness this, call it what it is, we have courage. We have courage to accept some of the darker aspects of the world that we live in. And as we grow in our spiritual discernment, we become more and more aware that this world is not only full of darkness, but for the most part, it's the darkness that runs the show here, at least on the surface, at least when it comes to our systems, at least when it comes to politics, media, government in general, on a global scale, any of these systems, any of your three-letter agencies, right? The medical system, the school system, all of these systems, even organized religion is not exempt. There's truth. There's some truth contained in all of the religions, as far as I'm concerned. But all of them, the big organized ones, have all been manipulated, at least a little bit. So the same way that like I can't talk about what, right? Or I can't talk about what certain things, right? There's a certain level of censorship going on. That's nothing new. Social media might be new, but the idea of hiding certain information from people is not new at all. It's ancient. Even the Bible has books that were removed, that weren't allowed, and there's different translations, and that's a lot of this is very deliberate. And if you do your research, you'll realize, for example, the book of Enoch is discluded from the Bible. But if you research the origin of the book of Enoch, you'll realize that their justification for making it non-canonical scripture is ludicrous. There is no justification for it. If the book of Job, if the book of Isaiah, if those are canon, then the book of Enoch is too, if you do your research, because they're from the same period of time, and the information in there is very similar and valid, and it aligns with a lot of things. The thing about the book of Enoch is it gets into a little bit more depth about who's really running the show here, and I think this is stuff I actually can talk about on the internet without getting flagged. So there's talk about Nephilim, that whole thing, the pre-Atlantean phase of humanity, the pre-flood era, right? So there's a lot of this stuff that's been removed from us. So any system, any large system, and again, by the way, the weather is a system. The weather, they call them weather systems, right? So any system is being manipulated. And it's being manipulated in such a way that the intention behind the manipulation is to make the thing toxic. So whoever these people are, if we can call them that, the dark forces behind things, have done a really good job of basically taking anything good and figuring out a way to make it bad, actually. And they've taken anything bad and figured out a way to make it good. So here we are in pop culture celebrating sexual immorality, celebrating dysfunction, celebrating gender dysphoria, celebrating mental illness. I'm just going to call it like it is. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but that's where we're at. We celebrate mental illness. A lot of these like celebrities, talking heads, are very sick individuals, you know, and we idolize these people in our culture. And this is part of the deal, right? And it's even hidden in our language. It's phonetics. It's called phonetics. Ancient Phoenicia, if you do your research, there were the Phoenician Canaanites who traced themselves. The Canaanite goes back to Cain and Abel. They trace themselves back to the bloodline of Cain, and they believe that they have a divine right to rule over us because they come from a divine lineage. But a lineage, you know, Cain. The story of Cain was a murderer. He murdered his own brother. So this is basically a sociopath. Right? So this is what we're dealing with. So the phonetics, Phoenicia, think about this, the phonetics of our language, the English language, it's all very deliberate, all right? And they have ways of spelling things, casting spells. I mean, I'm sure you guys are I'm preaching to the choir here right now probably, but in case I'm not, you know, you think about it, like when we greet somebody, we say hello. The word hell is right there. The word health, be in good health, hell, phonetically is right in the word health. How funny is that? Doesn't that fit right in with our sick care model? When the sun rises, the Son of God, whether you want to talk about the Son of God in the sense of Yeshua or the Son of God, the physical sun, that sun rises, and then when we say good morning. Mourning, what do you do when you're mourning? You mourn at a funeral. You're sad. So why are we mourning at the rising of our Messiah, our Son, the source of all life and light? You see how this phonetic connects too. Son, S-O-N, S-U-N. So this is the way of the pagan, you know, background that all of these religions really have, is they say they've snuck their worship of the physical sun as an idol into this stuff. And they've done it with phonetics. So we call Jesus the Son of God. We have the sun and the light of the world. Well, the sun is also the light of the world, isn't it? And it rises and it sets every night. So we say good morning, and then we say good night. And then at night, what happens? When the sun goes away, when the sun sets, and by the way, the word set also has a very phonetic, what's the word? Blanking on the word. The word set is an old word basically for devil. Okay, so it's all hidden in the language, you guys. So the sunset, the dark ones, they celebrate the darkness. That's what they're into. So they mourn when the sun rises, and they celebrate when the sun sets. This is why in Catholicism, you see the Messiah bloodied, mangled, hanging from a cross. And there's a lot of human sacrifice implications there, and you go and you take communion and you eat the body and drink the blood of your Messiah who was sacrificed on an altar. That does not feel very holy to me. I mean, yes, symbolically we make sacrifices. The flesh, we sacrifice the flesh for the sake of the Holy Spirit, and so there's that symbolic, you know, sacrifice there. But also, you see what the Catholic Church has done to this is they've turned it into a blood ritual because they are of the darkness. Okay? So this world is full of darkness, but it's also full of light. And that's really all that's going on here, is we have this play of light and darkness. And so it's very important for all of us to just get very in touch with the fact that at current, humanity is under attack. You know, we don't need to be like, oh, it's, you know, freak out about it. People talk about, oh my God, World War III is coming. Everybody's freaked out about what's going to happen in Israel, or what's going to happen between, you know, China and America, Russia, all this stuff, right? You see, this is, if you look at the back of your dollar bill, it's all there, right? You got an eagle with two wings. The wings represent the two parties, but the two wings belong to the same eagle. It's got one brain operating two wings. Left wing, right wing, same thing. And this applies on a global scale, as far as I'm concerned. All these countries, they pretend to be at odds with each other. And all of these conflicts profit a certain group of people. All right, I think you guys already know. So what I'm getting at here is how are we going to respond to this information? Because this is a lot to take in, and some people are just figuring this out just now. Some of us have known this for a while, and we've integrated this. We've grown accustomed to this reality that we live in. So what I'm saying is part of the deal here, you guys, is it's very similar, and it's ironic that I'm going to say this. I'm going to say as within, as without, and this is a saying of a certain occult group that has a certain amount of power on this planet. I think you know who I'm talking about. But you see, these people are hiders. They hide knowledge, and the knowledge is real. It's real stuff. It's just that they exploit it to have power over other people. It doesn't mean that the knowledge they have is evil or unholy or something. It just means that they're hiding it. So they're evil, they're unholy, but the information they have is legit, right? So this whole concept of as above, so below, as within, so without, is very much a true, spiritual principle, right? So as individuals, if we're going to do shadow work with ourselves as individuals, right? So we're going to look at ourselves honestly and take account for all of the different aspects of us, good, bad, everything in between, and do it with a sense of equanimity. Like, this is how I define shadow work, is like you just take a very honest inventory of yourself, and you accept the parts of yourself that are dark, and instead of rejecting them or fighting them or numbing them or hating yourself for having them, you just love all of yourself. You shine light on those things, on the darkness. You shine light on them, and then that light becomes healing. And over time, you start to heal from the shadow. But the first step is you have to accept that the shadow's there. You have to see the shadow, and you have to embrace it on some level. It doesn't mean you condone it, right? So it's like this stuff that's going on with the weather, right? I could say this is on a collective scale, on a macro scale. This is part of the shadow aspect of Earth, of life on Earth right now. So on a macro scale, same way on a micro scale within myself, let's say I notice I have certain tendencies towards codependency, something like that, right? Or certain tendencies to I get cravings for certain foods or substances that maybe I know I shouldn't have, right? And I notice these things. So I integrate that information and I say, okay, well, you still have these tendencies. But I love myself enough to admit that I have these tendencies. And my awareness of these tendencies is a way of shining light on it. And now I get to practice. And it now becomes a practice of acting contrary to those tendencies in a loving way. I accept that I have them. I don't hate myself for it. I love myself. But also at the same time, I strive to be a better version of myself through this practice, through the work, right? So we can apply this to the world at large, and all of this, the darkness, whatever it is that you're awakening to about the nature of the reality that you're in. You can apply the same thing, right? So it's like on a level, I have to be able to take this stuff and realize, okay, well, we're being poisoned. There's toxins in the air, in the water, in the food, on the screens. Every possible angle they can hit us from, they're hitting us. And so my job, is first of all, on a practical level, just to take incredibly good care of myself, because I realize there's a war on my health. And so I've got to be very proactive. And that's part of why I'm so serious about, holistic health as an individual. It's not just that I care so much about that. It's a response. Part of it is a response to the world that I live in. It's necessary, The other aspect of it, though, is it's like you can get really stressed out and like unhappy and negative and brooding and lose hope if you give too much attention. And I've been down that path too with this stuff when I was first waking up to how dark the world really is. There was a period of grieving, and it was hard, and I struggled. But I've gotten to a point now where it's like I just treat this as all a spiritual practice. Like this, it's all shadow work, man. And it's kind of ironic. I call it shadow work because they're what are they doing but sort of blocking out the light, right? Creating more shadow because these people love darkness. All right, it's that simple. But it's like, okay, well, if I'm here in this darkness and I know who I am and I know who put me here, if you know what I mean, then I have power. I have power over my own individual sovereignty, my state of being. I have the ability to say, okay, well, this is going on and I don't like it, but I accept that it's happening. I don't condone it. I'm against it, but I'm for myself. I'm for personal evolution. And I'm for being a positive influence in the world, energetically more than anything. Just having good energy, being happy, being positive, being optimistic, no matter how much they throw at us, no matter how much toxicity I'm surrounded by. How pure can I be? And can I share that? Can I share that with people? Because as infectious as misery and toxicity can be, positivity and love are also infectious, and we can spread that stuff around too, you guys. But it's up to us, right? This is a conscious decision we have to make, and it's not for the weak. This is for the real spiritual warriors out here, and you guys know who you are. I know you know who you are, and I know you feel me on this. So, a little bit different than the normal video. We didn't really get into any retention or celibacy stuff, but it all goes hand in hand, man. It's like we're all here to do the work. But you guys know that this is divine. You know, we're on a mission, and we're all here doing this together. This is teamwork, guys. We do our own individual solitude journey. We get right with God. We find our purpose, and then we start acting accordingly. And then the more of us that do this, we start to find each other. We start to magnetize towards each other. And then we start to strengthen each other. And the world responds to that. It really does, you guys. So this stuff is real. It's a big deal. That's how I feel. And that's enough for this reel. Signing out. Much love, you guys.